YouTube! It's Nimbo Soup again. I've had a lot of people ask me what vehicles they should be using in early tiers. Well, look no further. In this video, and in more to come, I'm going to be going over some vehicles in the earlier tiers and which ones I think are the best to be used for grinding and for having fun. I'll go over vehicles in both ground and air realistic battles. I think arcade should be used for grinding modifications, taking breaks from the lengthy vehicle grind, getting a task or a challenge or something like that done, or simply having fun. Keep in mind, you all know me by now, I'm not going to be discussing bombers or SPAA. In my opinion, these vehicles, especially at these lower tiers, are just not really fun. Bombers do receive better SL modifiers, but I personally still get more SL in fighters. If you disagree, honestly, respect to you, no hate whatsoever, I've just never personally been able to find them enjoyable or worthwhile. Anyways, we're going to start out this series with this video talking about the American tech tree. Go warm up some soup, get your listening caps on, and enjoy. From my experience, Tier 1 Air will be pretty much the same no matter which fighter you fly. They're all relatively the same playstyle, and there isn't a single plane that stands out to me to use to grind or to have fun in. Knowing this, play whatever you can do the best in or have the most fun in. I know it's annoying to watch a video about vehicle recommendations and then not receive one for Tier 1, but none of the vehicles have significantly different modifiers or performance to receive a recommendation. I can tell you that I preferred flying the P-36s, as their 50 cal armament let me have less time on target in order to get the kill. A lot of the armaments at this tier are, to say the least, underwhelming. Both of the P-36s are pretty much the same, but if you're going to listen to me, take out the P-36G, as it has a slightly better modifier. Again though, not super important. As far as ground battles go, M22 all the way. I will die on this hill. With its speed alone, this vehicle could have a higher BR and be just fine. It's one of those super rare vehicles that is a good grinder for its tier, or at least good enough, and is super fun to play. The M3 Stuarts are also fantastic light tanks and can be useful since they get the scouting feature. They're also pretty similar in playstyle to the M22, but I only use the M3s as backups to the M22. The Locust is just too much fun and way too good to not be at the top of my list. Tier 2 American Air is stacked with awesome fighters. I personally used the P-40E a ton in this tier. This was, however, before the addition of the P-40F, so between the two, I'd use the P-40F today for a slightly better modifier. My overall recommendation would be between the P-39 and the F4U 1A Corsair. The P-39 receives a slightly better SL modifier. The difference is honestly not too much, so just use whatever works best for you. I will say the 37mm is very nice for killing bombers, ground units, or just memeing around and making people go boom boom. However, the Corsair is a low tier monster. Your flight performance is equal to, if not significantly better than, most other planes in the game at this tier. If you know what you're doing, you'll find yourself getting easy ace matches in it. If you're only going for fun, try doing head-ons only in the P-51. The cannons can be inconsistent, but if people are dumb enough to take you head-on, it's awesome, absolutely shredding them given enough time on target. Like I said before, this tier is full of terrific planes, and I'd love to go through them all, but for the sake of time, I'll just stick to making recommendations through the scopes of grinding and having fun. For ground battles, I'd take the M24 Chaffee over anything else in this tier any day. The Shermans are certainly wonderful tanks, the M4A3-105 is probably too overpowered for its tier, and the M5A1 can be fun to meme around in. But for both grinding and having fun, my overall recommendation is the M24. This tank is my absolute favorite American one. It gets the scouting feature, an insane reverse speed, is highly mobile, good smoke deployment, and has a good gun if you know where to shoot. Kinda like the M22, this is a hill I will die on. I simply cannot recommend anything else in this tier more than the M24. If you struggle in this tank, I hate to break it to you, but it might be a skill issue. Don't fret, these can be worked on. For air, things get a little bit interesting in Tier 3. My overall recommendation for both fun and grinding is the P-63C5. It's on par with the best modifiers and is more UFO-y than other planes. There's absolutely no denying that there's other great options at this tier, and I understand this will probably receive hate. The Corsairs are always great, the P-51C is decent, and the P-47s are good. But all of these planes have pretty much the same boom and zoom playstyle that has a little bit of a skill requirement to play, not to mention the patience. This recommendation is definitely a little bit more subjective because of this, but I personally find the playstyle of the P-63 easier, more fun, and more engaging. You've also got the 37mm like you do in the P-39 to use against bombers or ground targets. I think this is one of those tiers where it's pretty acceptable to just fly whatever your personal preference is. Performing the best will get you more rewards versus playing something with a better modifier and not doing as well, since the modifiers of these planes are pretty close regardless. For ground, I'd have to recommend a lineup including the 76mm Shermans and Jumbo. I'm not gonna lie, out of everything I've discussed so far, this is the tier and game mode I suffer in the most, so I'm just gonna give you my recommendations and send you on the way. If, unlike me, you're a decent ground RB player, you might actually enjoy your time here. The Jumbo can be fun if you get a decent matchmaker, and the 76 Shermans can actually deal with a lot of the things you'll see. Call it skill issues if you will, it probably is to be honest with you, so fair enough, but I find it difficult to perform well consistently here pretty much no matter what given the matchmaker. Given this, your research is probably going to be pretty slow. If you truly care about progressing through ground RB, meaning you're going to be playing this game long term regardless, and trust me it pains me to say this is where I'd start to say it's borderline necessary to drop some dough to get any real grinding done. Me, personally, I don't care enough to reach top tier ground RB yet, so I'm gonna keep greedily hoarding my Eagles, Air RB main, sorry not sorry. Ah, yes, typical Nimbo soup video. But this time, the premium section is a little bit different. This time, you've already decided you want to spend money, and you're looking for recommendations on how to do so. Quick disclaimer, the only American premium I actually own and have used in these tiers is the BF109 F4. I'll talk about that in a little bit. With this in mind, it's up to you if you want to listen to my advice or not. I certainly understand if you see me as unqualified to make premium recommendations. If it makes you feel better, everything I've told you has been discussed and corroborated with people that actually own these premiums in my Discord server. I'll throw in a quick little shameless link in description to join Discord server here. That being said, with my game knowledge and having played against these vehicles, I think I can at least give you some general advice. Also, I'm not going to go buy a bunch of premiums just for the sake of matching the background gameplay, so don't mind the random gameplays you see in this section. I'll do my best to keep it gameplays and premiums, but hopefully you guys don't mind too much. I'm sure you understand. For tier 1, my recommendation is to spend the Eagles you would spend on one of these vehicles on something in a higher rank or a premium account. Not going to even bother recommending one of these because, in my opinion, from a grinding perspective, it isn't worth buying at all unless you really like one of the vehicles or something. If anything, if you chose America as your starter country, use the free premium vehicle you receive for it. Tier 1 is so much quicker comparatively to get through that I think you should just use a tech tree vehicle. Not to mention, if you're in this tier, you probably need to learn how the game works. And it's probably best to do so in a vehicle that isn't premium, as premium vehicles tend to be a little bit wacky. For tier 2 air, depending how much money you want to spend, I'd choose between the Key 43 and the XP55. Sort of like tier 1, I wouldn't really recommend buying these overall since it's only tier 2, and at that point you might as well buy something in tier 3 for a tiny bit more, but if you must, pick between those two. The XP55 used to be more like a UFO, but it's since been nerfed a bit. It's still a decent vehicle. Keep in mind, the Key 43 receives a significantly larger SL modifier. For ground, I wouldn't recommend any of the premiums as I don't think they're worth it over the tech tree vehicles. I tried to look up the price of the T18 Boarhound to meme about it, as it is actually a really good vehicle and would be my recommendation if it wasn't so expensive, but I couldn't find any sales data about it, just stupidly low buy orders. My best guess would be that it's around $200 or more, so no, I'm not going to recommend buying that. Given all the complaining I already see about premiums, I think you guys would probably tar and feather me if I sat here and told you to buy something that expensive, so I'm going to avoid that. If you're an absolute whale and don't care about $200, by all means pick it up and you will have a fantastic time. By the way, that $200 figure is my best, most conservative estimate. It's probably way more than that. If you can afford it, by all means, go for it. Am I gonna be jealous? Probably. Tier 3 premiums, my favorite premiums. As a newer player, I picked up the BF109F4 on sale, and it was the best purchase I've made in my War Thunder career. Unfortunately, this isn't my recommendation for air premiums at this tier. I enjoy the playstyle of 109s and can do well in them, but this isn't the case for everybody. I only mention it because I used it personally to grind a significant portion of my American tech tree and have a deep love for it. As I'm saying this, I just picture an XP50 laughing at me in the distance. The existence of the XP50 though is the reason I am not recommending the BF109F4. The XP50 to this day is insanely cracked and also receives a ridiculously large SL modifier. In fact, if I were to recommend one American premium vehicle overall for the entire tech tree, it would be this one. It's just that cracked. Pick up the XP50 and you'll never have a problem with SL again. That is, of course, barring any skill issues. And in this plane, they would have to be some serious skill issues. For ground, I honestly can't give you an overall recommendation. None of them really stand out to me in any way, having played against them. Keep in mind here, I have none of these vehicles, and obviously therefore have never played them myself. I don't want to sit here and act like I'm in a spot to give you specific recommendations when I've never played them. If you're planning on buying a tier 3 ground premium, I'd just go for whatever playstyle you like the most. Obviously, the T14 or the Cobra King if you like the heavier, more armored tanks, the M18 if you like softer, speedier, harder hitting, more mobile tanks, or the T20 if you want something somewhere in between. I personally would not consider the Calliope for purchase over one of these, given its performance and how many eagles it costs. Alright Soup Squad, here we are, the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed and found this video useful in some way. If you did, please leave a like, a comment saying what you learned, and consider subscribing. Also, while you're at it, turn on post notifications and check out my other content. Last shill, I promise. Check out the description for my Discord server. Anyways, I'll shut up and leave you alone again until the next video. You all know the deal. This is Nimbo Soup, Nimbo signing out. Peace out, everyone.